Hello, everyone. My name is Adele Bernard from Transition Clarity. We're going to have another authentic conversation today. I'm happy to invite Sharon Ann Rose to the show, and I'll give you a little bit about her. So, Sharon Ann is a liberator of feminine wisdom. She is an award winning author, ceremonialist, transformational facilitator, priestess, and hypnotherapist who supports women making foundational change in how they take care of themselves and show up for their creative endeavors, relationships, and business. Sharon holds perspective space for those deep work of transitions like career change, loss of self, death, menopause, birth, mothering, divorce, and relocation, guiding women wisely through potential threshold moments to renew their commitment to their feminine wisdom, heart, and dreams through transformation programs, personalized sessions, ceremonies, rites of passage, retreats, and feminine wisdom resources. She helps female bodies remember how to rest and restore. This is how we sustain, ignite our much needed brilliance in creating lasting generational change on this planet. She also has some amazing gifts to offer that will be all in the show notes. And with that, let's welcome her in. And here she is, Sharon Ann Rose. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, my dear Adele.
Thanks. Okay, so as we were talking on the pre-show, like we always do, how about we start with a little bit of who Sharon Ann is, how you became who you are as this um, midwife to midlife. I love that saying. Sorry, I said it wrong. Midwife for midlife. And yeah, let's see how you came on this journey to end up here.
You bet. So I actually like your take on words of midwife to midlife as well. So I came into midlife 10 years ago and have been on this journey that was mind blowing because it was so, I was being asked from my own inner wisdom to walk very differently than I'm used to walking through transition and change. It invited me to get very quiet, to pull out of life, and not out of life itself, but out of the way I was doing life.
Yeah.
And to go in so deeply to the life inside of me, including the stagnant places, including what I perceived were stuck places, including what I had been terrified of that were places of kind of lockdown or the freeze, as we were even speaking about glaciers before, and experience my own frozenness as neutrality, as a natural part of transition and change, as well as what happens during the melting time. And so how I got to where I am now, I work with women. I work with women through transition. And now one of the biggest places I'm leaning into is supporting women who are entering midlife and menopause and are ready to embrace this. For me, it's been, my background is in shamanism as well as other gorgeous holistic healing modalities. So this has been an absolute shamanic initiation. And I've gotten woken up to, oh my God, a woman's journey into menopause is literally like what the earth is going through now.
Absolutely.
And our voices and our willingness to let this be a new transformation of our understanding of power and initiation into that is really required so that we can then turn back and say, life, we are, truly the bringers of the wisdom, the wisdom carriers, and women always have been.
Yeah.
And especially now, it's, mind-blowingly important. As the Dalai Lama said, like, Western women are here to really bring about profound change and heal the world. And I would say midlife menopausal women, really, really can usher in support, wisdom, care, guidance, a stabilization for these massively transitioning and changing times. And how I got here, out of I was born into a family as the youngest of 4 girls. I was studying women from the womb, truly, and went on to undergraduate as for women's studies, gender studies, and then began working with women, and after I worked with women in a variety of just really unfortunate, not well served situations, in social services and human services, then I began my own practice. And then I would work with women at various thresholds of change, like pregnancy, new motherhood, moving into divorce, changes in career, all those different nuances. And then so much of my training, personal experience, and then through working with women is very much about, coming back into the body, coming back into the body's wisdom, grounding into the earth, our own direct connection to the earth and to universal consciousness in our fleshy systems, and really letting that guide us, speak to us, inform us, and liberate us so that we don't fall into the prior conditioning saying that our bodies are dysfunctional, that we should be ashamed of all these supposed malfunctions, instead of realizing, no, like the earth is going through, like we were talking about, we are here showing the way to rebalance and come back into more holistic harmony. So that's my overview.
Well, it's just a little one. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show too, was because you do come with a different perspective, a very grounded perspective, a very studied perspective, right? Where, like, as I have helped through the transitions of womanhood and everything, I also know that as a society, as a world, we are in the rise of the feminine. And that is bigger, global, more than women, because men are feminine too. And it's getting that balance. And it's the next 20, 25 years, depending on when you think we started, like, right? We could already be 4 or 5 years into it. We have 20 years left, or we haven't quite really started, but we have 20, like, right. So whatever, we're in it. And how to support these women, and how also do men support their partners in this, oh my gosh, my world's falling apart, what do I do? Right? And I do want to, tip my hat off to the men who are stepping up to help in this, because so many people are just like, I'm working with women, I'm done with men. I'm like, no, we need both. We need everything, because we are whole people, feminine and masculine. And how are we moving forward? But ultimately, I want to bring up the fact, like, because I know you're on mute. When we were talking, you still have that lingering cough. And I want to bring it up for people who say, oh, I have this cough, or I have the flu, or I have the blah, 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 right? My understanding is your body naturally will give you what you need to move forward. When you think of a cough, or like, as you said, bronchial pneumonia, if it's a tickle in your throat, what are you trying to say? What are you not hearing? What, right? Or are you supposed to be quiet and hear? But if it's in your lungs, in all the studies I've done, you probably know with the shamanic stuff too, lungs are your life force. Where's the shadow showing you what you need to, or what you're helping people through, and you've kind of taken it in, or what you are help going through so you can help others. What do you have to say to that?
Yeah.
Just a little question.
Beautifully brought together. Yeah, so I'm going on 3 weeks of this deep cough where my lungs are literally have been aching and on fire.
Mhm.
And so it's brought me to some of the, most core places of grief in my life, my own, from my childhood, from the way I compensated, up to now, I'm 53.
Mhm.
And also, I was reflecting on this morning, the way we are hardwired to fear each other and to fear a deeper capacity to be love and to take in love. And I was thinking a lot about this also with women, female bodies, and male bodies, and the heartache of how it's been so challenging to truly love each other in the conditions as we've known them. And, so for me, there's so much clearing. From my own personal life, I really witnessed, my two role models of mother and father
Mhm.
just bickered literally until the day my father died. And so there was that just warring energy of an incapacity to truly cross the threshold into allowing oneself to be loved and to love the other. And as I, age in my own marriage and relationship of 27 years, it'll be, I'm profoundly moved at how much we have softened with each other. And my heart, as it goes through, because that's what it's also been, it's lungs can take you right into the heart. They're so close, to each other.
Mhm.
And it's been that prayer of how can I in the world really continue to foster that inner safety that allows us to show up and
Mhm.
stop the warring between genders, which is as old as, time, and
Yeah.
stop the warring in us between those inherent qualities of
Mhm.
masculine and feminine, which I feel like I've been working on forever. It's been such a dedication and devotion of mine. And I can feel, this work with the lungs has brought me to a new understanding of that.
Well,
Life
and
force, like you said, life force requires partnership. Life
yeah.
force requires partnership in us and between us in the world. And life force requires, for me, and the way I hold wisdom, our partnership with the earth, our partnership with life energy, our partnership, not like we can go in one direction or the other. I've certainly felt it in my own life, like, here, life, I'll do anything that you say. That's not partnership. Or the reverse of let me try to manage, manipulate, control everything I possibly can around me, versus this partnership I see as a deeper cultivation of being in relation and relationship. So that's what I have to say.
Well,
That's life force for me.
and I just want to go back to like the parents bickering, because I just heard before I started this with you, the best thing of, we were brought up in the generation of, they bicker, bicker, bicker. The kids are left seeing them bicker, bicker, bicker. Then the magic happens behind the door, but we don't understand it. So basically, we're a level 3 gaslighting from our parents. And I was like, and we don't think we have trauma because we never saw the bickering come into the loving space.
Yeah.
And it was just like that aha moment of like, wow, we have, like, as I'm not a parent, but I'm an aunt. So I'm saying we have to have that whole conversation of the bickering will happen, the making up will happen, the good times will be there, right? Like, how do we encompass it all? And that comes down to anything, right? Like, you can say it's the bickering between parents or kid and like siblings or whatever, but how do we transform and trust that we're going to make it through the transforming if we never see the other side? We only see the bickering of the transform. We don't see the loving of the transforming. And so then we come to midlife and we go, I can't do this. I don't know the other side. Right? It kind of makes you stop and think of like, well, if we're not being good stewards in our own life, how are we helping others in theirs?
So beautifully said. Yeah, and I'm someone who always comes back to how are we walking in relationship to ourselves? And that's where it begins and that's where it ends. And so, are we being good stewards to the heart inside of us through the change? And are we willing to enter into a capacity for not abandoning ourselves ever? I think that out in the world, we have really good conversations now about not abandoning ourselves during the big stuff. We're all pretty aware of that, of, oh, look at my old pattern, you know what I mean, of whatever it might be. And we kind of just leave ourselves at the door. It's actually in the subtle that
Yeah.
really big changes happen where, just even for example, when my breath was tight and I was really getting constriction and ready to go cough, I was able to watch just because of where I'm at and how much that has transitioned and changed for me over the past 10 years. I was able to just slow down and go watch what you've done in the past when your chest constricts. Because that's also very much a somatic response to
Mm-hmm.
fear, change, terror. And for me, it was, oh, you have the opportunity to slow down and not abandon yourself through 1 ounce of your beautiful, full, whole breath, even when it hurts. I went, okay, I'll do that.
Well, and I like
I'll
you
stay
brought
with
that
it.
up because um, when I was a tour operator, I I was shocked at how many CPAP machines were on the American buses. The Koreans didn't have them, and the Europeans didn't have them. And I was like, interesting. And so then I started talking to the drivers, and they're going, well, because half of the Americans don't even get off the bus when we get to the stop. And I'm like, then why are they paying all this money to come? And they go, we don't know. Right. So then I said, okay, this is crazy. So I'm starting to research this and look at this and what's going on. Because in North America, so I'm not singling Americans out. In North America, we only breathe from the collarbone up. So we're not even using our lungs. And then you go to sleep where you need that full breath to get in the rhythmic breath to sleep, to heal your body, to let the oxygen flow through. It wakes you up. You have to get a machine to keep you alive because we forget to breathe during the day. And I saw a perfect clip from a shaman the other day, and he says, we have made it so difficult for ourselves. If you want to be grounded and you want to be connected to you, take your shoes off and go hug a tree. It doesn't need this. It doesn't need. You guys talk about this grounding. You guys talk about this centering. You just talk. Stop talking. Go take your shoes off and hug a tree. And I thought, that's brilliant. You don't have to go on these weekend retreats. I mean, you can. They're enjoyable. They're transformative. But so is just stopping, taking your shoes off, and hugging a tree.
Yeah, it's the simplicity of how do we stay in our body on the earth.
Mhm.
It's that simple. And I have, a little ritual I do most mornings where I go outside, and I'm looking out at the backyard right now, barefoot,
Yeah.
whether it's cold or warm, and I just stand there and breathe.
Yeah.
And I really invite, not so much that I have to be breathing like the earth, because that's, I don't want to turn it into one more
Yeah.
hard thing I got to figure out or do.
Yeah.
And it's realize I am breathing alongside the earth.
Yeah.
There's something about that that's very empowering. And then realize the earth is under me, breathing into me.
Yeah.
And when I exhale, I'm breathing into the earth. And this goes back to, what I was saying around that partnership, when we let ourselves be in partnership. And that can be very simple, very simple. And going back to what you said, it encompasses the full range of the bickering, you know what I mean? The whole thing. And can we let that be simple, knowing it's going to do always its full cycle? And we don't have to force it. We don't have to doubt it. We don't have to fear it. But we do have to stand there and be there for it, just simply in our bodies, on the earth, doing our thing.
Well, and I like how you're saying about bringing it back to the simple, because people ask me, well, I don't have time to meditate. And I go, do you wash dishes? Yeah. I go, shut out all the noise behind you. What? I go, be present with washing the dishes. That is meditation. Come back to your body, be present. It could be 3 deep breaths on the hour. You've done a meditation. Those are micro meditations. Stop making it, I gotta sit for an hour and everything's, and it's like, oh my Lord. I said, I meditate all the time. Do I do those ones? No. Very rarely do I have the time to go and sit for an hour, to have no distractions, like, right? But do I micro meditate all day long? You bet. And being conscious of the breath. So we say we are connected in the presence. The past is done, the future hasn't evolved, and we are present in the conversation. We are present in whatever we're doing. And with that presence, we hold the space for who, if it's just yourself and whoever's in that space, to connect in the oneness of the unity.
Yeah, in my work with women, the breath is probably almost always the core thing we work on. And when I say work on, I don't mean it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually women go, oh my God, I have never known or felt my breath this way before. And we're not doing anything fancy. We're not doing, you know what I mean? The 10 steps to breathe deeper. It's turn inward and feel what
Mm-hmm.
your breath feels like. Like, so even when I just coughed, I felt that a little tingly, a little sticky, a little constrictive. I don't have to change it.
Mm-hmm.
But when we bring our awareness to our breath as it is, something very profound happens. And we do complicate that. I mean, the amount, and they're beautiful. I'm not like laughing in jest, but the amount of like books and research and things now being done on the breath, I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then we think it's so removed from us that we literally have to go get a PhD in learning how to breathe. When in all honesty, the breath breathes us. And so when we can, just bring our attention and
Yeah.
allow what naturally then slows down, our world changes dramatically.
Well, and I'm having a little inner chuckle, because it's like the people that are reading the book on how to breathe, they're not breathing, reading it.
No.
Right? And it's like, what's the point of reading it if you're not doing the exercise, right? Like, so yeah, and Gary Zukav is one of the best teachers I've followed, that his books are very much like that, right? That it's like Put the book down if you're not going to do the exercise before you go on, because it's then you're just reading words, right?
Yeah, and I don't want to undermine, like, there's a lot of very valid reasons why we do that. Often
Oh,
we're living in like this state of trauma, and it's just like we can't even stop to. And I want to even go back to what you were saying about time and like us not having time. And, we are so programmed to be victims
no,
constantly.
absolutely.
Every system and structure we perceive outside of us, which has been crafted by
Hmm.
the human mind, And so when we go, oh, time, how do I be with time in my way, through my body system, through the way my breath moves? We take back time and make it ours, and we're not a victim to
Yeah.
those ideas of like, I don't have time. It's like, no, actually, have time. Like, take your
Well,
time back
and
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 be
I'm
with it.
and I'm just going to take it one step further. Time's an illusion in the construct, right? We all have the same amount of so-called time, but in the presence, that word time or that thing of time is an illusion. Where do you want to live? If a task really needs to get done, it gets done, right? The people that are time watchers are late. They can't get crap done. The ones that are just like, it's an illusion, the task list gets finished. The baby gets fed. The, like the dinner gets made. And you're like, well, I didn't have time for all that. Hmm. You just wipe that illusion away because you got it all done. Stop worrying about how you're getting it done and when you're going to get it done. You just get it done. It's all working out perfectly.
And we will make time. People are often quite astounded when they reflect on their previous day, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and they realize they made time for the things that were most important to them. And when we let that just settle, but also expand out, we go, oh, I will always make time until the day I die for the things that are most important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates a real stabilizing and calming force
Mm-hmm.
for us to step into a different relationship with time. Otherwise, we're panicked. We're so panicked that we'll get to the end of our life, we'll have regrets, resentment, didn't have enough time to do what matters. Versus when we even do a little like self reflection and a little check, we can look at just our past week and say, what mattered most to me? Did I make time for that? And for the majority, we will see the things that really were important, we made time for.
Yeah.
And the other stuff, like you said, we tell ourselves a lot of painful stories of
I
like,
know.
I'm not taking care of myself, or I'm not making time to, go have my regular checkups if we're talking about health, or
Yeah.
I'm not making the time to write my book, or do something in my life that I really want to do. So when we just slow that down and realize, ooh, what would it be like to stop telling ourselves the stories that we're not making time for the things we love
Yeah.
most and want to do, and go, actually, I am. That's when, again, we drop the victimhood mentality and we go, okay, I guess everything up to now, that's what I valued most. Oh, right. It's not about time. It's
Yeah.
about me being more honest about what I value, and
Yeah.
then making sure I'm making time for what I value most,
Yeah.
and not putting pressure on ourselves, just doing it gracefully and naturally. And like you said, trusting, just totally
Well,
trusting.
and even in my own work, like I'm now working with a lot of people out of Australia,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
15 hours difference. So did I have to shift my schedule to instead of have my 3 o'clock walk, it's now 11, 12 o'clock because now I'm working through till 8, 9 o'clock at night because I got to wait for them to wake up, right? And so like that was a big shift for me because I was like, get the quiet things done in the morning and then get on the calls and then go for my walk, have right. And so it's a shift because by the time the night ends, I'm dropping into bed because I'm like, ooh, it's been a total up. But then on the other hand, I think I kind of created it that way, which I know I did because I was always saying, well, I don't know. I think I get my best work done between 3 and 8.
Mm,
So guess when I'm working? 3 and 8.
yeah. Mm. I love
Right?
it. I
Yeah.
love
So
it.
you just go,
Yep.
like, are you in the flow? Are you creating? Or are you forgetting that you've created it? And then you're trying to get mad at what you created.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Versus what you're doing, which is realizing, oh, I told the big vast universe, told myself, my
Yep.
psyche, I do my best work from 3 to 8. And okay, so I had to go
Well,
all the way to the other side of
yeah,
the globe.
it's like my best work of like being interactive, right?
Mhm.
My quiet time can start
Yeah.
whenever. It can be 6 in the morning, 8 in the morning, whatever. My quiet time start, that's whatever. And
Mhm.
my nighttime end is whatever, because I can give, but yeah, it's quite funny. It's quite funny. But yeah, and and then just kind of saying like the illusion of this time thing, right? So it's like when you're working with women and you're going, well, it's the menopause time. Who said? Is that a construct that doctors have said, well, you're in that time period, right? Because I've known women to have had menopause, I swear 15 years. And I'm like, why are you choosing to have that? And they're like, I'm not choosing. It's what, and I go, okay, keep listening to your doctor, keep suffering. That's up to you. Right. And then I know other people like me, it's a word. Never had, you know, yeah, it's a word. And I mean, I don't want to come across as like nonchalant and just kind of like deal with it, but I do have compassion for those women that are going through it. But I'm also saying, is that your belief? Is that your untruth that you're hanging on to, that you have to suffer through this time? Because it works on the same way with young girls, right? Like when they are having to change their life, that it's this brutal thing. Some people say yes, some people say no. It's just what happened.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I've been in the field of feminine wisdom for close to 30 years. And what it shows and shines such a light upon is how much we have brutalized the true deep wisdom of cyclical rhythm and
Mm-hmm.
change. And therefore, from more of an ancestral clearing pattern,
Mm-hmm.
women's bodies have been working very hard to slough off this old brutalization. I'm going to call it that because it's been brutal.
Mm-hmm.
What's been, placed upon the perspectives, the judgment, the absolute obliteration of deep, deep female wisdom, deep embodied wisdom.
Well, but I mean, sorry, but it even comes back to the different cultures of that good, bad, or indifferent. When you were having your cycle, you went to the tent. You were in community with women. You were never alone. It was a rite of passage every month. And that comes back to the shamanism stuff of why are we doing the 12-month calendar? It should be 13 and 28. And people are like, what's 13 and 28? It's your moon calendar,
Yeah,
right? And so the moon calendar falls way easier into helping women understand, yes, you will be going through the change. It doesn't need to be as difficult as you're making it. But also, and then I'll let you speak, but also what's coming up with me and clients I've been working with is part of the pain of the menopause, the midlife, the everything is clearing out the DNA that we said that we would do for our female side,
Mhm.
right? So that puts a whole different perspective on menopause if you are struggling and if you are, because I know what, like, I know I did that for my feminine side and the DNA back, and I would never wish that on anyone, what I had to go through. So luckily it wasn't months and months and months. you know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And some of my hardest, most physically grueling and also mentally challenging moments during my own transition, I was on my knees saying, for whatever reason, I am choosing this struggle. May it be for the liberation of future generations. May it be for the well being of other women. May I come to a deeper understanding of why. And we can say why we're choosing this, and also why is the medical system doing this? Literally, like commercializing
Yeah.
menopause. Literally, like once again, this is a time when, if you were to go back to, as you were saying, more of the traditional wisdom ways of women in indigenous cultures and more of that community living, you had the wise elder women there every step of the way, being revered, being seen as both kind of wild and eccentric, and also the ones you would turn to help you through change.
Yeah.
Because at the biggest, most, thematic place, menopause is the ultimate transition where it's not just one aspect. Yes, it's about your blood stopping, but going back to what something that you said, whenever I begin to work with a woman going through her midlife change, I support her in, because I have so much background in earth shamanism and earth traditions, to realize, for example, using the directions north, south, east, west, I support her to realize she gets to feel what north is for her now. She gets to feel what south is for her now. She
Mm-hmm.
gets to define what east is for her now. And not out of disrespect to tradition, but a layering on
Mm-hmm.
of a deeper wisdom, which says, oh, this is the way I'm literally going to greet every moment, every thought, every interaction is, how does this feel to me?
Mm-hmm.
How does this feel to my system? And how can I allow that to redefine everything I've ever believed, any role I've ever played? Literally, just every moment, like letting it all go and going, what is this moment providing for, myself in my rediscovery and rebirth as a new human being?
Well, and to add to that, like I have a lot of really, really strong women in my life, um, who were saying it was like a new lease on life of now they get to like they were, doing their work doing, and now they've just expanded so much more because they're getting that inner wisdom that they just it was eluding them, right? And so like I have one friend, she was 90 when she did the Camino. And people are like, I want to take a picture with it. And she's like, why does everyone want to take my picture? And they said, because we're sending it back to our parents to say, get off the couch, go around the block. But that was her gift to herself at 90 years old to walk the Camino. And it's
Yes.
like, okay. And so this is who I'm saying. You might not be my tribe that, but you are my tribe of being that guiding light, showing me the way that it's like the second coming. like of ourselves, right? And if anything I can help, like I share with people, it's like coming home to you for the first time ever. right? Because we've always listened to the people, the media, and to go back to, um, like, why are we hearing all this and the manufacturing of it? There was a, a while back they had changed the feminine products, saying you get more, but for less price. There was an uproar saying, "Do you think we're stupid? Making a bigger box and putting flashy writing does not mean we're getting the better deal. Stop lying to us." And I was just like, that was hilarious. You can pull your roll over a lot, but you cannot, you know.
Yeah, I love that example of a woman at 90 walking the Camino.
Yeah.
It's like it's our opportunity to say what matters most to us, because that's why I'm here. And if we go back to like lungs and life force, it's our time to say, what is my life force?
Yeah.
How am I going to access it? How am I going to sustain it in relationship, in partnership with what, is most intimate to me, whatever that's going to be.
Well,
And
intimate
then,
to being in within you.
exactly.
Everything else will do
Yeah.
what it's going to do.
Yeah. And then we bring ourselves, we bring that core relationship to us out into the world so that we can continue to, yeah, because so many women have become washed away from following media, from following others, from following those in leadership, from following other women,
Yeah.
just washed away. And there's this now, reigniting of our own life force where we can then still turn and go, oh, what do you have to say about that? And not get washed away because we've touched a different fire source in us.
Yeah.
We've touched, you know what I mean? The,
Yeah.
the lungs, this life energy in a really different way.
Well, and you think about what the lungs do in a body, right? Like, even as someone's transitioning from their earthly body, your heart can beat a little bit longer if your lungs give out. But if your lungs give out, that means everything's given out, right? And so the like, everyone always like worries about the heart, the heart, the heart, and I'm like, what about the lungs? You're not breathing. The heart not doesn't have any work to do because everything else is gone, right? And so it's like, as we talk about this, it's like, and then you're trying to come into yourself and come into your wisdom and come into who you are. The simplest way is to start taking some deep breaths, like all the way down, all the way up, right? And if we can just get people, men or women, to start doing that, we're going to be a totally different world. And that's where we're coming in. If we all start breathing in our own light and shining it as we're supposed to, like nobody else can, like I can't be you, you can't be me, um, and moving into this new world of love and compassion and unity. It's not one, I've even taken oneness out. It is unity in the one. We're unstoppable. Like, what a world can we can create?
Yeah, there's something that happens, and I've watched this time and again. It's any body, and I'm going to use women as the frame of reference because that's what I know so well. When a woman feels safe in her body and you watch her breath go deeper and deeper, literally until it hits the perineum.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, she's not just breathing up and down, she's breathing to the side, and those lungs, that chest, and then feeling one, her edges, which are really important to feel. It's important to know our edges, our boundaries, so we can set them, so we can live inside of a deep reverence for our own needs, our own desires, and our own sensitivities.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also watch her go past them, which is what you're saying. It's like, what is beyond everything we've ever known about how to be with each other, about what life can be? We enter it through our breath, through that truly like every directional.
Well, and I'm
Because we
glad you.
finally feel safe. We
Yeah.
feel safe that we can explore. We feel safe that we can wonder. We feel safe to be magical again, and and go have some fun.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up about the safety, because we are a monopole, right? And the monopole always brings it up and then out. And if we're not breathing, the outward, um, I don't know, circle, whatever, is shrinking, shrinking, shrinking. And then you go, well, my boundaries aren't being held. I go, because you're not holding them. You're shrinking because you're not breathing out your monopole. You could have it 3 feet, 3 miles. Like, who cares? Like, how far do you want your circumference to be of your physical space? Well, that comes down to the breath. And if you're not breathing, people are going to be in your face and you're going to go, I don't like it. Well, you're creating it because you've shrunk your monopole. But if you breathe your monopole out, people will ask to be able to come into your space. Yeah, it's powerful. This is powerful. I'm so glad you're on the show. Because who knew you were going to go so deep, so fast, so like, and, but I also, like, I know we've been talking about the women, and I don't know, the men can do this too. They can absolutely get in touch with their feminine side, their nurturing side, nurture themselves like they've never been given permission to. And like, for instance, I had a client who said he's retired and his wife's still working, and he goes, I just don't know what to do for her. Right. And I said, when she walks in the door, have your arms open. She might fall into them and you just hold her. And he's like, well, what? I go, because she just needs to know she's safe, she's at home, and you love her, and no words need to be said. Right.
It's
And that's
beautiful.
the thing. It's like we have to do, we have to say, we have to, and it's like we don't. We wait until they're ready to talk, or we hold them, or like, yeah.
Yeah, and we're hungering for this as a humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a relationship with a male. I am the mother of 3 boys.
Mm-hmm.
I am surrounded by, these beautiful male bodies. And so I've watched, because I have two older sons, 25 and 20. So I've really gotten to see them go through some huge milestones of, when they were younger. And man, was I a very feminine based mama, and, just showering them with attention,
Mm-hmm.
affection, touch. And they've journeyed through that where I've had to really step back and let them find their way. And they've also pushed me away. And when we realize exactly what you just said, like, we get so in our heads,
Mm-hmm.
and we put a lot of pressure on men.
Mm-hmm.
Men as well need us, whether it's women, whether it's other men, etc., whether we're going to go beyond gender and go more into transgender and non-binary. We all crave just this space to be and to rediscover who we are in our most natural, and going back to what you shared, that like fluid capacity just to be breathing
Yeah.
ourselves into being, breathing ourselves through our own life force and through the life force of the natural order of things. And we have not been we haven't been giving that to ourselves, and we sure as heck haven't been giving that to each other. And so everybody's walking around so compromised. And when I, come back to, to be in a healthy relationship with my husband, with my boys, I just need to love and respect them.
Yeah.
And that actually is a tall order in this day and age, because women, because of our challenges with feeling safe in our bodies, we wanted to control. We wanted to control our relationships, our marriages, our mothering, all of it. And so to
And
come
where's the
back into
godness?
exactly more, divided, more separated, and less feeling our own true power in our own selves. So when we're just like, okay, my only job and task at hand to be in relationship to these, beautiful men, just find safety every day, find safety, find breath, find that, and then just be there. And they'll, they'll receive my love and respect, because I'm not trying to do anything to them anymore. I'm not trying to change them. Trust me, I've tried. And I, you know what I mean? And that was so painful. And now it's just like, oh my God, let's just celebrate the beautiful men you're turning into.
Well, and I think I've seen this a lot, especially with single moms raising boys, is that they're trying to be both to their sons. And it's like, lead by example. If you love yourself, male, female, all of you, your shadows, your light, your everything, they're going to see that and they're going to start loving themselves. And when they don't love themselves, they're going to go, Mom, I'm not loving myself today. And you're going to go, okay, let's explore. Let's see where it's going. Right. And then you're just like, okay, you good? I'm good. Okay, see ya. Bye. Like, right. And it's not, we're not going, well, something's wrong. And I know something's wrong because he came home from school and he drops his backpack. And it's like, let him be. Right. Let him come to you. And my friend had a perfect example. So she's a music major. She's like beyond talented, does sound healing, right? And she'd be like, oh, bad day at school. She could see him walking up, right, to the house. And she'd be like, one song, two song, five song, we'll see. And her son would come into his room, blast his hard rock music, which they gritted through. And sometimes might last a matter of 5 songs. And then he'd come back to the family and say, I'm home. Because he went to release the day. And it's about, it doesn't matter if it's you, your husband, your kids, who's coming in, release the day, I'll be back. It doesn't mean they're going into their cave forever. I'll be back. I got to let the day go. And it's funny because I worked with a guy that I said, but you really like this job. And he goes, yeah, my wife says it's me or the job. And I go, why? And he goes, well, I have to find a new job that's farther away because I get home too fast and I still have the work day on me. So she basically gave him an ultimatum. Either me and the kids are leaving or you're getting another job. So he got another job that's further away so he can let go of the day before he comes into family time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had so much work to do around anger and rage, and my kids got to watch me go through that transition where I literally had an anger practice. And they'd be like, oh, their mom goes again down into the basement to wall up a archery, where you go to shoot your bow and arrow. And why can't I think of the name of it? The archery
Target.
bullseye or whatever. Yeah, target. There you go. And I would wallop it with a metal bar, and I would scream or play music.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I allowed myself my own relationship with rage that I was able to turn to my partner and my boys and realize, oh, you have the right to have rage too. Because before then, I was trying to stifle something that made me uncomfortable because of my own upbringing and what, the rage that I watched. And it was not respected. And so when we can respect the rage of men, because they've got a lot of rage. So even that, like letting go of the day, do we all understand what male bodies have been going through? Just like female bodies have, and
Yeah.
it requires an immense amount of, so that's one, like big time feeling safe in ourselves, so
Mm-hmm.
that the male bodies around us cannot just let go, but they can be pissed,
Yeah.
pissed at what they just faced,
Well,
you know?
and I don't know about like where you are in Portland, but I'm finding a lot of men are starting to find men's groups.
Mhm, mhm.
And I'm so happy for that because we've always had our girlfriends. We've always had that. I just got to go vent, whatever. Like, even if it's even journal, they didn't. They thought it was, they were brought up as weak. They were brought up like, you don't cry. And I'm like, oh my God, like, just stop. Right. And I grew up with a lot of male friends, and they'd be like, we don't get women. I go, either do I. And they're like, what? And I go, I don't get them either. They're nitpicky, they're judgmental, they're like, no, like, you guys are just chill, like, right? And so, yeah, and they take a, they're like a, what I call the slow burn, but when they blow, holy Dinah, anyone's
Exactly.
in their path, they're gone. And it can be the simplest thing that's gonna set them off, and you're like, what the heck, right? But it's like, it's weeks and weeks and weeks, right? Like, I had one client who said he'd never go on holidays with his wife again. And I'm like, that's an interesting way to start a session. I go, why? Because she brought the laundry list of the house before the plane landed. He's exhausted. He needs time away. Right. And so it's like, put it in the schedule. You need time. I'm not scheduling that, or it's not going to get done. You're going to end up divorced. So once a week, you put half an hour aside, you handle everything. Right? You go on date night and do not bring up the kids. Figure out why you got married. Right? So this has been a fabulous conversation. As we're wrapping our up, what what last insight thoughts do you want to share with the audience?
Mhm. The last piece I want to share is, may each person who is listening know that they have all the time in the world to be in contact with their own breath.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the bravest, most courageous thing you can do. And it is a lifesaver, literally. So do it sooner than later. And then find that, that loving, gentle way to like breathe the way you're meant to breathe. Nobody else
Yeah,
but you.
yeah, that's beautiful. So once again, this is an authentic conversation. I want to thank Sharon and for being our guest today, and all this wonderful information to get a hold of her will be in the show notes. And check out her special offer. And I'm your show host, Adele Bernard from Transition Clarity. Wow. Wasn't episode 35 with Sharon Ann Rose amazing? Talk about a deep dive into women's histories, into the problems, into the solutions, into just nurturing each other. And we also brought in the masculine, because they're going through the change too. They can't not go through the change if we're going through the change. And as humans, we have to all be here to support each other and work with each other and love on each other. Because you know what? This life is hard. And with with help and compassion and kindness, we can make it a little bit more ease and grace with flow. So check out the show notes, check out her special offer, subscribe, like, leave a comment. Again, this is Transition Clarity. I'm your host, Adele Bernard, and you have just finished another authentic conversation.